everywhere, and we need to turn the thing so I can see the clock. Okay, so we know what the clock's going to do. Going to be an interesting show today, Eddie, as always. I brought a lot of controversy with me today.
Well, you brought a lot of sugar buzz too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I sat the other day and I ate a whole box of those.
I'm going to tell you right now. If you look up and I'm doing this, no, just keep talking.
Just keep talking, okay?
Don't bring candy to me.
That is understandable. Right. Hey, folks, I'm Tom Young. I own First Consultants in Beaver, and my goal and mission is out to touch 1 million lives before I die and change the future of as many people as I can. You can reach me at 724-728-6820. You can find me on the internet at www.1st, firstconsultantsinc.com. And remember, the show today, if you share the show, and let me know, send me an email, send me a contact on Facebook. I will send you an autographed copy of my book and a little commemorative coin. Very, very special coin.
I was playing with my coin yesterday.
You like your coin?
I had 10 minutes in, I stunned me. It's like, you've spun this coin and watched it spin around for the last 10 minutes. Yeah, your coin that you gave me 10 minutes of pure, unadulterated childhood joy.
Absolutely wonderful, Eddie. That coin is to inspire people and to stretch them.
Okay.
When I meet people and I talk to them for a little while, I see so much potential in people, Eddie, that they can't see in themselves.
I know you want to get into it, but what you just said, I've got a question. Why don't people see the potential in themselves that others see in them?
We're going to talk about that today, Eddie.
Good.
Today, that's the subject, because we're going to talk about success today. We're going to talk about personal success, business success, financial success, and it really all comes down to our perspective, which is how we see life, and our perception is how we interpret what we see. And that is all driven by this crazy word, opinion.
Okay.
And you know, opinion is part of life. Everybody has an opinion, Eddie, right? Everybody has an opinion.
Absolutely.
And you get in a conversation with somebody and they start talking about their opinion. And all of a sudden, in your mind, what happens, Eddie? You start thinking, well, that's not right. I know better than that, and you know that can't be. I don't see it that. It all see. That's what starts to go on inside our mind, and the thing that I say to people is, you know what? When you're having a conversation with people, and they're talking about their opinion. You have to respect them and just simply, thanks for sharing. Because unless you walk a mile in their shoes, Eddie, unless you participate in their atmosphere, we all bring an atmosphere with us. You know, it's like Peanuts, you know, Linus, the little guy, he always has the cloud. That's the one with the cloud over it? Pigpen.
Linus
has the towel, has the blanket.
No, Linus has the blanket. You're right.
Blanket.
Pigpen has the cloud.
Pigpen has the cloud, yes. and so we all bring with us our cloud, our atmosphere. It's like fish, Eddie. Does the fish know he lives in water?
No.
No. And here we are. We're sitting at a radio station, and. Is this thing have a little wire going to every home that's listening out there? Folks, you're listening to this thing, and you know what? You are swimming. Your atmosphere is flooded with electronics.
Yes.
It is our atmosphere.
All sorts of radio signals going on all the time.
Absolutely.
That unless you've got
my cell phone, it's not connected to anything, right. But I know there are people listening out there in on my Facebook Live. Mm-hmm. So we have to step back, and it all comes down to that thinking thing I always talk about, because you're in control, Eddie. You determine what you think about. You can choose to think about a certain thing. Now,
or
think
not.
or not. thinking really is the same as exercise. I got up this morning, I did ab ripper X, my P90X workout this morning. So I do ab ripper every other day, and that is my physical exercise for today. Okay. Plus my movement around. I mean, moving around is exercise.
Right, you burn calories living your day.
But when was the last time you consciously exercised your thinking? Consciously exercised your thinking.
The lack of response should be an indication, shouldn't it? I don't know.
Well, that is the bottom line, Eddie. And you know what I do for a living for 44 years is helping people financially, and I have come to a point in my career, in my life, and I publish every day. I'm on the internet every day. I'm on LinkedIn. I've got all this information out there. And what I have come to is a conclusion. You know, Dr. Robert Rome, one of my mentors, where I earned and got 3 advanced certificates as a human behavior consultant. And Dr. Rome always told me, how you think determines everything.
Right? To me, that makes perfect logical sense. You can't argue, because it is your perception. How you think determines your reality.
It actually is. So learning how to think is the critical element, because we are constantly, every day, told what to think. That is education today in America, as it is probably around the world. They tell you what to think. You memorize stuff, but very little how to think is generated. And so
is that different now than it used to be? Because I remember teachers as a kid, they told me what to think, but I had teachers that explained how to think about whatever it was.
I'm sure that exists, Eddie. Okay. But I believe that it is a very small part or a small portion of what is really going on in our educational system. Remember a couple of months ago we talked about that Fabian Society.
Yeah.
Remember that? Mm-hmm. And that is still there. That is the, what do I want to call it? It is the swamp thing. You know, we talk about the swamp in Washington, D.C.,
right.
and this is the swamp in the educational system that exists and underlies. Now, how did that come into being? Well, you know, we've also talked about, you know, my perception at this point in my life. I look at the 11 o'clock news and I see these young people graduating college, and they become anarchists. They're anti-patriotism. They're anti-American. How does that happen, Eddie? Because they're told what to think. In other words, and they have selective education. And selective education means there's a lot of our history that isn't taught anymore. It's just like the Holocaust. You know, I have some pictures, and I'm getting ready to release them. Mm-hmm. My dad was in World War II, and I love the story that he told. He was in Germany. He laid wire on the front line. Okay. You know what I mean? In other words, communication wire. That was what he did.
He was the one that went up there real early on.
Yeah, and laid wire so there could be communication, right? Because they didn't have cell phones and all these things that we have today. No. But he said there was one place, and he never said the name of it, but there was a place in Germany where they were coming up, and there was a big mountain. And all over the mountain were caves, and the Germans were in all these caves. And so they were stuck. They couldn't get beyond this. They couldn't get beyond the Germans in these caves on this hillside. And he said, next thing he knew, they brought up 2 divisions of 105 Howitzers. Ooh. Now, what is a 105 howitzer? That's a shell, Eddie, about 12 inches long, and it's about 4 inches in diameter, and it has an explosive tip. Okay? That's a 105 howitzer. And so 2 divisions, each division has 112 guns.
Okay.
So now we're at 224 cannons. 105s. They spread them out, and they just started boom, 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 boom. And the next thing, after a while, the Germans come out of the caves with blood coming out of their ears and surrendered. And all they wanted to know was, where did the Americans get the cannon machine gun.
Right.
Because that was their perception.
Well, that's what they were hearing.
That was their perception of what went on. And now let's step back from that, because it's really all about perception. You know, thinking what versus how to think are two different things. And I really focus on trying to get people to think towards the how line, because you know what? We were all created in God's image, Eddie, in his image, with all power of all living things. That's what it says in the Bible. And I believe what I read in the Bible. So with that power, what could we not do? So you know what? We're going to take a break there, because I'm going to come back and we're going to get into the family money farm and how all this ties together. And then we'll have a few minutes to the news, and then we'll get into it after the news. But break time. We'll be back.
Tom Young with me on Beaver County Radio. Perfect. I had an uncle who technically was a great uncle that was artillery in World
Here we are, folks. There's Eddie. Eddie can say hi.
Hi.
There he is over there on the side. And so we're sitting here in the radio station.
This is me looking like I know what's going on. When we come back, I need to read the disclaimer, and then we'll get back in.
Okay.
And we will be a little short.
Lord. We'll fill the time slot, Eddie.
Talking out loud.
Well, I got a 3 hour I got a 3 hour load of material over here, so we're not going to run out of stuff to talk about.
The more you talk,
the less you have. So you can save all your energy for the next 2 hours after I'm gone.
I'm like you. I got about 8 hours worth of stuff in a 2 hour thing. Between
it's time to experience college without the chaos.
The COVID
this semester,
and
Community College of Beaver County brings you essential programs in healthcare, construction,
and
criminal
Stephen
justice,
Miller saying
and more.
that they're
Don't
choosing
pay
their
for
own
what you won't
special
get.
electors.
Earn affordable, transferable credits right here.
It reminded
where
me
you
of the
belong.
dudes in
Enroll
school
now
that
through
didn't get
or
invited to
December
the
winter
prom,
and
so they
spring
threw their own
2020 terms
dance.
that are starting soon.
Dude.
Now is the
I don't
time.
know.
And Community College
It
Beaver County
is.
is the place. Visit ccbc.edu to get started.
When I don't. It ain't over. People
No, it's not, Eddie. And the worst is yet to come.
Absolutely.
Because the worst is going to be the financial background, the backfire on the back end for all the businesses that go out of business.
Right.
And the taxes that aren't going to get paid.
Why would you go anywhere else? Don't wait. Call McGee today. Serving the Beaver Valley area, including Albuquerque.
Well, folks, here we are. It is break time. They're playing a commercial, so we got to. They have to pay for the show, I guess. And so here we are.
Listening to Beaver County Radio on your iPhone or Android device is super easy.
What's that, Eddie?
They have to pay me.
They have to pay. They have to pay Eddie. Yeah, absolutely.
Beaver County Radio in the App Store, and you
I'm
can
easy,
be
but I'm
listening
not
all
cheap.
day long.
I listen to it all day, every day.
Just find the Beaver County Radio app
we're
in the
gonna
App
be-
Store.
What a great day.
And listen wherever
Hey,
you
Brian.
are.
I'm at work
Good to
right
see
now
you.
and I'm listening to it.
Stay connected to what's happening in Beaver County.
Here, I'll give you a look again to the station. So let's find Eddie over there. Get up there. Okay, there's Eddie over on the other side of the board over there. So you can see him, and then you can see the radio station. We're in this little room, and so here we are.
But we are 6 feet apart.
Yes, we are. We are practicing social distancing as they require, and so now I got little hearts coming from Dana. Hi, Dana. Good to see you, dear. And so it's just going to be a great day. Going to be a great day. Got lots.
Ground. Any day above ground.
Get above ground. Well, we're above ground. It's better than being underground, Eddie. Unless you're down at the mine. I put my boat in the mine this year, so I was awakened inside that place. I was blown away by the massive size of that inside.
Garage doors and lit master garage door openers that would make a perfect
I mean, we're quick read.
with over 50
We're only going to have about 2 minutes.
Okay, no, we're fine. We're fine. We'll set up for we'll set up our hook for the second half of the show.
You're listening to
Stand by.
Teleform with your host, Eddie Crow. The numbers to call are 724-843-1888, 724-774.
How many breaks next half? Next half, how many breaks? 2?
AM 1230 WBVP and AM 1460 WMBA 99.3 FM. Presented by St. Barnabas. Tom Young of First Consultants is my guest. This program and sponsorship have been provided by Tom Young at First Consultants. You can follow on Facebook Live. We're live with the Facebook feed. Tom, I know you've got your Facebook feed.
We're live on my personal Facebook page right now, absolutely.
Beaver County Radio, the Facebook feed, it's live. Tom's waving at you. Wave at him, Tom. There you go. All advisory services are offered through Prosperity Economic Partners, LLC, a federally registered investment advisor. In the second half, because we're already running late like we always do, and I've told you this, when we run late, that means time's flying and you're having fun. In the second half, what are we going to talk about? Because you touched on 3 or 4 different things
we did.
up to now that I've got questions about.
We're going to talk about the Family Money Farm, the CFO project, and the blueprint. And in reality, you know, there are things that are going on in the marketplace that actually defy financial success, that defies business success. And really what we have to do, Eddie, is we're going to talk about the financial rules. Imagine you're sitting at a big desk, and on one side of the desk is the financial world. You know, the banks, all the way to Wall Street. They're on that side of the desk. And you're on your side of the desk, and now you've got to understand, how do those people make money? And when you understand how they make money, when you understand fractional banking and that type of thinking that they have, it really should give you a whole different approach to your financial thinking.
To look at it the way they look at it.
Well, you have to see it, you have to understand their vision. Remember I talked about opinions a minute ago.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about here. You have to understand what their side of the desk looks like so that you can come up with the right how to think. And they have 4 basic rules over there. They're really very simple. Eddie, if you were the president of a bank and I walked in the door and I got this suitcase of money, okay, how much of my money do you want me to put in your financial institution?
Every last nickel.
All of it, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I get paid once a month, twice a month. Should I direct deposit my paycheck directly into your bank, Eddie?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, why is that important to you, Eddie? Isn't it, you have salary, you have utility bills. In other words, you have to pay with cash flow. You understand cash flow. On this side of the table, I was never explained cash flow. Number 3, how long should I leave my money here, Eddie?
Forever.
Forever. Now, Eddie, I'm getting ready to retire. How much of my money do you want me to take out of your bank?
None of it.
None of it, or as little as, or
congratulations on your retirement. But none of it.
Dribs and drabs in little bit itty bitty amounts. And so we're going to come back after the news and we're going to talk about cash flow and why you need to think differently and how to think differently.
It's hard to even put a title on what Tom Young at First Consultants and Beaver does.
That's it.
Call him a financial planner.
So we're good now for about 10 minutes, folks. We're going to be here and sitting here.
And I'm going to spend the next 7 minutes trying to figure out where in God's name I put my coffee.
I think you can get to.
I have no
You
idea
lost
what
your
it
coffee?
Because I
There's
see
only-
more
huh?
greatness.
You lost your coffee?
in people than
Oh,
they
yeah,
say.
there's only
Hey,
3
folks.
places that I said it.
Want to remind you, there's my new book,
People don't believe
Family
it.
Money Farm, the CFO Project. You got to get a copy of this because everything that I talk about and everything that we're doing is all in this book. And my whole life is in this book. And some of the endorsements on it, the Honorable Bob McEwen, former congressman from Ohio, Jody Booyah Victor, endorsed the book.
Sorry.
Now I've got to shut up because Frank's going to do the news.
It's downstairs on the desk.
We'll be back in a little while, folks.
An engineer has been here.
Yes. Mark engineer.
I've got about
hosts
15
SWAT
sets of those
teams,
things.
entertainment editor for the Beaver County Times
That's
and Beaver County Radio's
pretty
8 Pro.
much your
Notes
go-to
on
crap
Entertainment
when
is
you're
your
working on a
source for the
guitar.
information on coming shows and music performances throughout the area. Scott will also give a preview of his Sunday column and weekly cut-out video.
All right,
So make
Sykes,
sure to mark
then
your
the
calendars to
news.
tune in this and every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. for notes on local entertainment right here on 1230 WBVP.
Sound.
1860
Now,
WMBA,
we're actually being watched from
99.3 FM,
Guyana, South Africa.
BeaverCountyRadio.com.
Guyana. Oh, we all have dreams.
Hello,
Just like
Ghana.
a White Christmas,
Or
Tom Sykes
Guyana.
Demolition had a dream
whatever.
that started with a pickup truck and a hammer. A dream that has grown into business with skilled employees, heavy equipment, tractor trailers,
Dude,
and much
it
more.
still freaks
For more
me
than
out.
35 years, Tom Sykes
Technology,
Demolition
because I'm
has
old
been
enough and I
anticipating
know
their
Tom,
customers'
well,
needs
Frank, you
before
are
they
too.
do.
You remember
Whatever your
before the
demolition
internet.
requirements are, Tom Sykes
Oh, yeah.
Demolition
I remember
will do
I had a
the best
roommate
job.
when I was
No
at
job
Purdue.
is
He
too
was a
big
computer
or too
science
small.
major.
Call
And he used to go over, and if you went to one of the computer labs on the EDU system, you could basically text back and forth to other people on other computers at other schools.
I remember the first computer I had, Eddie. It was a phone, and you had to have a phone modem, and you put the
Yes.
receiver in other words, to communicate.
All right, here we go.
Streaming at BeaverCounty
No
Radio.
sound, you said?
None.
All right.
Here's Frank Sparks.
Hey, good morning. Currently at 29 degrees in Beaver County. Expecting a high today of just 35 degrees. We'll have your complete Beaver County radio weather forecast, including when the snow will arrive tomorrow. After we have this look at news. The Pennsylvania Department of Health says that the state will receive an initial shipment of more than 110,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. The health department said yesterday that nearly 90 hospitals across the state of Pennsylvania will receive an initial 97,500 doses directly from Pfizer. The first shots will be given to health care workers, first responders, and residents and staff in nursing homes and other congregate settings. UPMC, which was among the first to get a shipment, said it began administering shots to their staff yesterday. The coroner has been called to the scene of an accident that occurred in Robinson Township this morning. At the last check, the road was still closed along Robinson Highway. 2 vehicles were involved in the crash that happened around 5:30 a.m. this morning. No word on how many people were in the vehicles or what caused the accident. Pennsylvania has cast its 20 electoral votes for Democrat Joe Biden, the native son whose win in the state last month cemented his victory over President Donald Trump. The electors are primarily Democratic elected officials and also chose Biden's running mate Kamala Harris as vice president. Nancy Mills, president of the state's electoral college, noted it was Pennsylvania that put Biden over the 270 vote threshold. And the Blue Crew of the Ohio-class ballistic missile submarine USS Maine conducted a change of command on December the 11th. Commander Darren Gearhart from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, relieved a local guy, Commander Mike Timone, from Newcastle, to assume the duties and responsibilities as Maine's Blue Commanding Officer. Timone said, "I owe many people a debt of gratitude for reaching this point for my story. And a really story is all about you, not me, the sailors who show up every day and do what is needed to be done to get the ship underway, and despite the hurdles, press on," said Timone. Timone is a local, originally grew up in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and the Maine is the 16th submarine of the Ohio class of SSBNs and the 3rd U.S. Navy ship to bear the name. Maine's keel was laid on July 3rd of 1990, and the ship was commissioned in Groton, Connecticut, in July 25th of 1995, and Timone doesn't have any words of what he's going to do in his retirement years.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
And your Beaver County forecast for today is calling for cloudy skies. High is going to be 35 degrees. And then overnight tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 28. Winter weather advisory goes into effect at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, lasts until 7 a.m. on Thursday morning. It's going to start out as rain and then turn into snow showers tomorrow. Back to rain showers, back to snow showers before the afternoon, when it will stay all snow showers. Accumulation will be around 2 to 4 inches total for the storm. And then overnight tomorrow night, snow will taper off around 1 a.m. And Thursday is mostly cloudy with a high near 36. Mostly cloudy with a high near 38 on Friday. And on Saturday, it's partly sunny with a high near 42. Currently, we're still sitting at 29 degrees in Beaver County. That is a look at the news for now. Our next newscast is coming up at the top of the hour. I'm Frank Sparks, Beaver County Radio News, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, and streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Hopefully the retired submarine captain gets a hold of Tom and figures out the finances of retirement.
Yeah,
Tom Young is my guest from First Consultants, and that's just what we were talking about. You were asking before the break. All right, you're retired. What do you do? Well, I was the bank, and I basically said, give me all your money, and I want to keep all your money. And that's really not the way to go about it, is it?
You know,
if you're the bank, that's a great way to go about it.
Eddie, becoming your own bank. That was one of my discussions today.
There you go.
And you mentioned the military, and I have. They have found me. I have a captain from upstate New York. Been in the Army 22 years. He's a ranger and a helicopter pilot.
So he's a bad mamma jamma.
Oh, he is,
Yeah.
and you know, so he is a brand new client, and his dream is a couple more years. He wants to retire in about 2 years, and he wants to buy a farm in the Pittsburgh area and grow apple orchards and make hard cider. Everybody has a dream, Eddie. You know, so what
dream? You're of the earth, and you're providing a product that makes people happy.
Absolutely.
Johnny Appleseed and Jack Daniels had a kid. That's a good idea.
It absolutely is. You know, when we talk about creating wealth, what are some ways that we think our opinion about how to create wealth? Number one, do you know what the number one is? Years and years ago, there was. You know, I would get wealthy. They did a survey, and they asked people 30 years ago, how do you think it's going to happen? Well, number one on the list was win the lottery. You know, lottery started about 35 years ago in the U.S., and it's everywhere now. So every state, and it's lotteries everywhere.
It used to be illegal, and the gamblers ran.
Well, it was when the government figured out how to make tax money,
right.
and we'll come back to the tax money because that's what it's all about. And lottery was one, and number two was rich relative died.
So lottery and inheritance.
And then make it on my own, okay?
So you actually become involved in getting rich with the third step, or with the third choice.
Well, if we come to today, in the survey today, the lottery's third. It's no longer the first choice.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. It makes me a little bit that people are actually thinking about it rather than just sitting and hoping.
Well, here's the downside of the lottery. Statistics. Over the last 35 years, 85% of the lottery winners ended up worse off, Eddie. They ended up, they lost all the money. A few of them went to jail. I remember the contractor guy in West Virginia. Remember, there was stories a couple of years ago, and he ended up in jail,
right,
and lost everything. So what?
Well, Tom, there's a reality show about it. It's what the lottery did to me, and it's story after story after story of that.
Absolutely, and I have the secret, Eddie.
Okay.
Tom has the secret, folks.
You could have helped
it's the 6 inches between your ears,
right,
and how you think, and that is why my whole focus today on helping people find financial security, to find wealth, to create wealth with certainty.
How should that guy have thought?
Sorry?
How should that guy, the West Virginia lottery winner, how should he have thought? What would you have told him?
Well, number one, you have to look at all money positions as where's the cash flow. You know, remember the 4 rules on the other side of the table. I want all your money, more ongoing, keep forever, and give back as little as possible. That's their rules.
Right.
What do they do with the money when they get your money? They put it in motion, Eddie. They create cash flow. They loan it out to people and make interest. You know, here's an example of what's going on is they're paying you 1% interest right now to put your money in the bank. Okay. And they loan it out at 4% interest.
Nice.
Isn't that 400% profit? They're paying you. Their cost of money is 1%. They loan it out and make 4%. Now, that's the first turn, Eddie. The second turn is now when they loan money out, don't they sort of require collateral?
Oh, absolutely.
So they got your home, your car, your vacation home, whatever. They had this piece of collateral that's appraised and it has actual value. So now they go to the Federal Reserve window and they take that asset and they borrow against it at the Federal Reserve window at an average rate of 1/4%.
So
And then they loan it out. Then they loan it out a second
They
time.
loan what they borrowed at 1/4% back out another
4 or 5%, and they loan it out a second time. Now maybe they loan it out at 6 or 8%. Maybe it's a business, a car loan. Not everybody gets those real low rates, so they loan it out a second time. And guess what? Didn't they get more collateral?
Yeah.
And they go back to the Federal Reserve window,
And borrow
and they
against
turn it back into cash again, and they loan it out a third time. The average turn is 7 times, Eddie.
So they're making, my 1% gave them an opportunity to make money hand over fist.
Absolutely.
7 more times.
You did not deposit money in the bank. You think you did. That's the way they told you to think. Remember they told you what to think?
Yeah.
That's a deposit in the... No, you made a loan to the bank, and they have carte blanche to do whatever they want with your money. Mm-hmm. That's why we have FDIC insurance through the federal government. Now, the FDIC insurance, that's money, right?
Well, it's
Where did that money come from? Isn't that yours and my tax dollars?
So
when the federal government is guaranteeing something, whose money are they guaranteeing it with, Eddie?
So I'm guaranteeing my money with my money.
You got it. You got it.
That makes my head hurt.
And that is the purest form of inflation, is really what that is, because it's increasing the money supply.
Right.
And the more cash there is, the less value your money has. There are 5 elements that you have to deal with in thinking about money: risk, taxes, regulation, inflation, and depreciation of the dollar, which is different than inflation.
Okay, is that not anti-inflation, or is
No,
it more
no, you're
inflation?
thinking of deflation.
Right.
I'm talking about depreciation of the dollar.
Okay. How does the dollar depreciate?
But
More inflation
here,
takes
very
over?
simple. We live in a world economy, right?
Yeah.
And every country has their own monetary system,
Yeah.
and their value of their dollar unit, that unit of value is valued differently than ours.
Mm-hmm.
So when we import money from other countries, depending on what's going on, our dollars get diminished because we import from other countries and our dollars leave the country. So
Even at the exchange rate, we don't break even?
no, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not, because it changes. Why do investors buy money? Investors invest in the bet. In other words, the bet is on those, and it's called derivatives. You know, derivatives is what crashed the banks in 2008.
Right.
And derivatives are nothing more than the highest form of risk in my mind, because you're betting on some financial thing's going to happen.
Yeah, it's either going to go up or down. If I think it's going to go up, I'll buy now. If
Absolutely.
I think it's going to go down, I'm going to sell it before it goes down.
Right. So what now is another way to get rich? How about if we found the secret stock? Remember, imagine what you'd be worth today if you bought a few hundred shares of Microsoft in the beginning.
Oh, back in the day, sure.
Back in the day. How about Walmart? Back in the day.
Yeah.
Google? Back in the day. How about Tesla? So
Literally, if you just happened to buy those stocks when those stocks became available,
absolutely.
you'd be rich.
You didn't. Hindsight is worth a fortune, Eddie.
No doubt.
You know, we could, if we could figure out hindsight, we'd all be rich. Okay. Now, if we were all rich, it would be relevant, and it wouldn't be rich anymore.
And I'm glad you said that. I'm rich. Well, wait a minute. Everybody is. So
Everybody
if
is.
we
You
all
know,
are,
if the
who's above?
government in the last 10 years between 2008 and 2009 bailout and what they have given out this year with COVID, if they would have split that up and given it out equally to every taxpayer in America, you'd have been able to pay off all your debt and have money in the bank left over and have zero debt with the amount of money the government has given away and spent.
And the reason they didn't do that?
Because they're politicians, Eddie.
Okay.
I'm not going to go there.
I know,
We're not a political show.
I set you up for that. I just wanted to hear you say
We're not going there. But politicians, You know, politics, I'll say this, Eddie. You've heard me say this. Politics. Poly is many, ticks are blood-sucking insects.
Oh,
I hope I
so-
don't hurt anybody's feelings out there, folks. It's just a word broken down with definitions. That's all it is.
I'm going to so steal that. I'm going to so steal that. Here's what politics is. Next conversation with my dad. My dad will love that.
So here now is the third. Okay, we talked about winning the lottery, buy some stock, and that's what a lot of people chase. You know, why would you risk the stock market and risk losing your money when the only guarantee they can offer you, Eddie? Think about this: mutual fund, stocks, bond, all of that arena.
Right.
The only guarantee they can give you is a guaranteed 100% loss. They can't guarantee anything else. They can only guarantee
It's possible
that
you will
you will lose 100%.
Then why would people buy into it?
Back thinking, Eddie. Remember, we're back to the thinking. This is all about thinking and opinions. Opinions drive everything. I see we're halfway there. Let's stop here. I want to take a break because I'm going to come back and I'm going to put the icing on the cake when we come back. So you want to come back and you want to hear what I'm going to talk about on how everybody can create wealth, unbelievable amounts, family wealth, with no additional out-of-pocket cost.
Accidents happen. It's just a part of life. Fortunately, Medic Rescue is always close by, ready to provide vital emergency care when you need it. For over 40 years, Medic Rescue has been Beaver County's premier provider of emergency medical
Well,
care.
folks, we got commercials going on. We're paying for the radio show. Good to see you all there. Remember, I will be back on at noon today for my regular 12 o'clock noon broadcast. So you want to catch me there. I have some different information where we're really going to make a difference. This is about everybody's future and what can be done. And it can be done by everybody.
Day to sign up for your Medic Rescue membership. Have peace of mind that when an emergency strikes, we'll be there. Become a member of Medic Rescue today. To learn more, call 724-728-3621. That's 724-728-3621. Medic Rescue. Your care is more important than ever.
Come visit Express Lane
I had a boss
Service,
tell
a
me,
one-stop
if I
shop
walk
for
in
all
right
your
now and
vehicle
turn your
maintenance needs.
microphone off,
Our
what's the first
factory-trained
thing you
technicians
do?
get you in and
Oh,
out quickly
just
and
right, you
safely
need to
back
know.
on the road. Our services include oil changes,
If something
tire,
craps
brake,
out, what
wheel
button do you
alignment,
dive
state inspections
for?
and
Okay,
emissions,
got it.
and general service. Prepare now for winter and get a full
You
set
have
of oil
backup
change
button?
and tire rotation
You
for $46.
don't have a backup button, you got a,
or buy
hell,
3 tires and get the 4th
but
for $1.
it's not a backup, it's a
Experience
button
the
you
Express
use,
Lane
whatever it
difference.
is.
Located next to Beaver Valley Auto Mall.
What happens
Come
next?
visit
That's why,
Express Lane Service, a
especially
one-stop shop
with
for all
this
your
system,
vehicle
you have to
maintenance
work
needs.
ahead
Our factory-trained
to make
technicians
sure
get you in and
everything.
Well,
out
this is what
quickly
Frank and I did when, I can see the clock, so now I can manage what I'm doing so that we all come together at the same time at 9:58 or 9:59.
It's going to be about 9:56 and a half, 9:57.
9:56 and a half or 9:57.
That's
All
where I
right.
get annoyed, and I've yelled at Frank 1,000 times.
Hi, I'm
There's no
Congressman
such
Connor
thing,
Lamb.
or
My
what I
Beaver
was
County
talking
office is
radio.
here to help constituents.
There's no
during
such
this
thing as
coronavirus
any
public health
commercial
crisis.
that's
We can help with
not
issues regarding
30 or
federal
60
agencies,
seconds.
including the
This is the
IRS,
first place I've
Social
ever
Security
seen.
Administration,
You
and
got
Medicare.
63, you got 54, you got 10. I'm like, dude,
4860.
number one, I'm blind in my right eye. Number
Is that
two,
that's your list of commercials up
that's the
there?
next stops that we'll go into to get to the top, But I'm like, I'm blind in one eye and I'm dyslexic, and you want me on the fly to add a bunch of different numbers. It's like, okay, it ain't gonna work, but okay. But see, at that point, you get into who wrote the copy and how long the copy is, and that's true everywhere. Whoever writes the copy.
I have learned so much in creating these sales funnels. I'm working on a summit funnel right now. So in the first or second week of February, I'm going to have an online summit.
Okay.
And the goal is to have 20 to 30 speakers for 3 days.
Okay. That and all Zoom.
All Zoom. All Zoom.
I have never done Zoom anything, and about 2 months into this,
I do Zoom every day. I go into Zoom and I go from Zoom to Facebook Live.
my ex-wife is still working full time. She has a laptop on her lap, literally, and 3 different monitors in front of her, and she's on Zoom meetings every day. And it's like, God bless you.
When the listeners of Beaver County have a voice.
All right, so we're going to have 7, 8
7, 8
minutes.
minutes. Okay.
1888 724 774 1888.
First hour this morning, get to spend with Tom Young of First Consultants. I know you want to get back into it. We don't have all the time, and I keep asking dumb questions. Go ahead.
Are you ready for me again?
I'm
Yeah,
ready
I'm
for
ready
you.
for me. Okay,
You're
I'm ready for me
You're
too.
in charge of
You know, the answer, folks, is, you know, the last one was inheritance, and there is a key in inheritance. And I ask couples, you know, they come to see me, are you expecting an inheritance from your parents?
Right.
And they say, well, yeah. And I say, well, why aren't you expecting a big inheritance from your parents? And it comes down to one ingredient, Eddie. And I've told this story. You know, we all think about when we die, you can't take it with you. Now, I'm not afraid of dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens, okay?
All in all, you'd rather be in Philadelphia.
Yeah, in Philadelphia, you know, with Danny DeVito, with that sitcom that they...
It's always sunny. Always sunny in Philadelphia.
Always sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So here we are, and we're at the funeral, and there was this business guy, very wealthy guy, and his whole life, he always said when he died, he was taking it with him. He wasn't leaving it for any of his greedy relatives. He was taking it with him. So we're at the funeral home, and they're standing around, and they're getting ready to close the casket and take the guy off and bury him at the cemetery, okay? Mm-hmm. And the daughter, he has one daughter. I have one daughter. And he has one daughter, and Mary is standing over by the casket, and she's leaning over the casket, and the minister looks curiously at what's Mary doing, and he walks over to Mary and says, Mary, are you okay? And she says, yeah. And he looks down, and she's writing out a check. And the minister says, what are you doing, Mary? He says, well, Dad's last wish was always to take it all with him. So I'm writing him out a check and put it in the casket.
Bon voyage.
Bon voyage.
Good luck.
And so in that, Eddie, is the secret. We all die, and we take it with us. Right. What do we take with us, Eddie? Our economic human life value. Now, what is that? That is your economic value based on the income you earn, you know, et cetera. And we have human capital.
Right.
And that is our number of years. So if I'm 30 years old, I'm rich in human capital. Human capital is like a bond. You know, it's steady. In other words, you earn an income. So human capital is looked at like a bond. So in your 30s, so younger people would, if they were investing, if they had everything in place and everything under control. I'm not telling you to go off and invest, folks, because you got to build the foundation and the groundwork before you go off and risk. But at the same time, they would buy stocks on a growth mode because their human capital is equivalent to the bond. In other words, it's like a balanced portfolio of bonds and stocks together.
Right.
Well, a young person, their human capital is the bond. And equivalent of bonds. That is that income.
Okay.
So with that, when we think about planning for the future in any way, shape, or form, we want to treat it and look at cash flow. So retirement planning, most people are told, put it all in your 401k, put in as much as you can so you have enough money when you get to retirement.
Right. Take the
and
job
I would absolutely challenge anybody, the best financial planners in the world that are out there doing the typical stuff that hurts people, that the answer, how much do I need when I retire? You don't know that. I don't care if you're going to retire in 3 years. You don't know the answer to that question. Tell me how long you're going to live. Tell me how much medical expenses and things you're going to have over the rest of your lifetime. So the answer is you need to end up with the most you can have when you get there.
Right.
Now, how do I do that? So if I'm 30 years old and I'm positioning money in savings or investments, I don't want it to compound and accumulate because that creates increasing tax. Okay?
Okay.
So whatever income it creates, I want it to come to me. I want it paid to me. So I want my money to be my employee. I want it to create cash flow. That cash flow, I'm going to start using that money to pay my auto insurance, my homeowner's insurance, my medical insurance. So now I have freed up my earned income, what I go to work for. I can now add more money to savings because the earnings from these savings are paying those expenses. So the answer for retirement is very simple. Passive residual income equal to or greater than your desired monthly lifestyle expense. So if you had investments generating income equal to your working income, Eddie, would you have to go to work tomorrow? No.
I shouldn't have sounded so giddy
So
about that.
so now it becomes choice. And I always tell people, don't plan on retiring. Never give up control of being able to make money, because the big black cloud in Washington, 27 trillion of debt and the 156 trillion of unfunded liability, all of that together, your mortgage is 1.3 million. Every taxpayer in America has a $1.3 million mortgage on your future that the government has created. I don't think they manage money too well there, because there is no signs that the increase is slowing down in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Even with the pandemic this year and the things that have happened, somewhere along the way, you can only write money. If you and I tried to live our lives with money the way the government does, we'd have been bankrupt several times.
I'd be dead.
It would not work. So the whole idea of this is capturing economic human life value and doing it without spending a dollar more than you're already spending. I help people find the money and create a more efficient plan to create the future, so that when grandma and grandpa die, there's going to be an inheritance tax-free. And that inheritance is used to add more. Here's the simple term. If you want to read a book, folks, go read The Rockefeller Method.
Okay.
You heard of the Rockefellers?
No. Yeah.
The Rockefellers, yeah. There was the Vanderbilts. They ended up broke because they just passed the money generationally, just kept giving it away to the next generation, who dissipated it like the lottery winners did.
Yes.
The Rockefellers did it differently. Okay. They created trusts where when one person died, the money went into a trust and was available for the family. They created a board that managed the trust. So if you were going off to college, you had to go to the board to get the money to pay for college, and they would pay for your college, but they held you accountable. If you went off to college and you screwed up and you didn't study, you weren't going to get any more money, Eddie.
Wow.
If you wanted to buy a house, you could go to the trust and get a mortgage, but you had to pay the payments back to the trust. Now, if you just think about this a while, folks, you think this is the way that you can create wealth with certainty, with no additional out-of-pocket cost. That's what the CFO Project's about in my book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project. There it is, folks. And if you want to read a good book, get the book called The Rockefeller Method. It will change your life. And we're out of time. We got to go. But catch me at noon today. I'll be back on at noon on the Family Money Farm group. So catch me there. Join the Family Money Farm group. Tom Young. See you next month, Eddie. Merry Christmas, everybody. God bless. Merry and blessed Christmas. Yes.
Merry Christmas. And Tom, thank you for the candy. And I always learn something when Tom comes in. Always.
There's Eddie. We'll see you in a little while, folks.